All right, guys. First, I'm going to show you the bigger cards. This is for the 68 set reveal. Card number 20, Brooks Robinson. That is a BVG 8, Beckett 8. That's card 20. Card 45, Tom Seaver, is a 7. Card 50, Willie Mays, is an 8. 58, Eddie Matthews, is a 5-5. Card 80, Hall of Famer Rod Carew, is a 7. 86, Willie Stargell, is a 7. Card 100, Bob Gibson, is a 7. 68 was his year. That was the big Bob Gibson year. Roberto Clemente, card 5, one of his, last remaining cards. That's the card you're looking for. The Nolan Ryan rookie is a 5. A little something, something. Pete Rose is a 5-5. Al Kaline is a 5. This one's a little low. Johnny Bench is a 3. That's the lowest grade. Now, there's cards in worse condition in here, but it's a little diamond cut, which I think is what got it to 3. You can kind of see it there. Anyway, Johnny Bench rookie. I'm sure whoever wins it will be like, hey, I got a Johnny Bench rookie. Yastrzemski is a 6. My man, Mickey Mantle, is a 5.5. Willie McCovey is a 7.5. 7s and 8s are your highest grades. Ernie Banks, Roger Maris is a 7.5. Ernie Banks is an 8. Not sure why this one's graded with all the others, but hey, Mickey Lolich is a 6. Everybody else is, bigger names. I don't know why, but hey. Oliva, Cardenas, and Clemente, 5-5, Manager's Dream. Superstars, Killebrew, Willie Mays, and Mickey Mantle is a 5. Frank Robinson is an 8. Lou Brock is a 6. The Tigers team set is a 6. And Frank Robinson, Brooke Robinson, Bird Belters is a 6. All right, now I'm going to show you the whole set, but I also want to show you these. These are cards that they're added in at the end because they're doubles. The Tigers team card as a 5. It's not a huge card. It is card 528, but as a 5. Another Mickey Mantle 5-5. So you can actually get 2 Mantles. Brooks Robinson as a 7. The one in the set is an 8. And then this Mantle insert is a 6. The Mantle insert is a 6. Then these are... All right, so in addition to the spots you win, I've got a bunch of doubles here. And so I'm going to... These are free, all right? So you're going to have about a 1 in 5 chance of getting these. So if you've got 5 spots, you'll probably get an extra card, but it's not guaranteed. But it's stuff like Yastrzemski, Killebrew, Willie Mays, Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Al Kaline, Roberto Clemente, Rod Carew, Brooks Robinson, Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle, Pete Rose, that kind of thing. So there's like 100 of those. Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Aparicio, the Clemente card, Frank Robinson, Rod Carew, Carl Yastrzemski, Eddie Matthews, Harmon Killebrew, so a handful of Hall of Famers. There is a set that's in here too. This is the insert set. There's 33 cards. All right, so there's 598 cards in the set. Then there's a 33 card insert set. And then there's the graded cards that are extra. These you get that in addition. Okay, I don't know if that made any sense. Don't worry about it. if these are extra, so you might not get them. So just ignore that part. Those Hall of Famers I showed you. So anyway, this is the insert set. You got Matty Alou, Mickey Mantle, Yastrzemski, Aaron, Killebrew, Clemente, Frank Robinson, Willie Mays, Brooke Robinson, Tommy Davis, Freeman, Osteen, Peters, Jim Longbird, Hargan, Chance, McCormick, McCarver, Tim McCarver, Ron Santo, Gonzalez, Frank Howard, George Scott, Rich Allen, Sam Wynn, Gene Alley, Rick Monday, Alkaline, Rusty Staub, Rod Carew, Pete Rose, Joe Torre, Orlando Cepeda, and Jim Fregosi. A couple managers there at the end. So, okay, so I've showed you all that. I've showed you all that. Now I'm going to show you every card in the set that I haven't already showed you in the graded cards. These are the rest. This is the rest of the set. And some of these are damn good, especially the top 12 cards. For some reason, he didn't grade these, but these look like very solid grades. Basically, everything in an Ultra Pro case looks like it was set aside to grade and just never got done. Clemente, Matty Alou, Tony Gonzalez. That's card number 1. I'm not going to name the numbers, though. That's card 1. Trust me. Then card 2, Yastrzemski, Frank Howard, Alkaline, K-Line, Cepeda, Clemente, Hank Aaron, Frank Robinson, Killebrew, Yastrzemski, Hank Aaron, Jim Wynn, McCovey, Santo, Howard, Killebrew, Yastrzemski, Nicaro, Jim Bunning. Well, that explains why Gary Peters was in that set. He was an ERA leader. McCormick, Fergie Jenkins. There's Osteen, too. Dean Chance, Earl Wilson, Jim Longberg, Gaylord Perry, Fergie Jenkins, Chance, Laurenberg, Sam McDowell. All right, so this is card 13. Hartenstein, Jim Neary, Ron Hunt, Lou Piniella's rookie. Surprise. Dick Hall, Hirschberger, Pizarro, Ron Davis, Pat Dobson, Chico Cardenas, Bobby Locke, Julian Javier, Darryl Brandon, Gil Hodges, Miracle Mets manager, Ulander, like Zoolander, Verbanek, Joe Torre, Ed Stroud, Joe Gibbon, Pete Ward, Al Ferrara, Steve Hargan, Bob Moose, Billy Williams, Tony Pierce, Cookie Rojas, Denny McLean, Julio Gote, Larry Haney, Gary Bell, Frank Castro, Dave Ricketts, Ralph Hook, Ted Davidson, Ed Brinkman, Bob Locker, Hawk Taylor, Gene Alley, Stan Williams, Felipe Alou, Dave Mays, rookie, Schneider, Locke, Holtzman, Reggie Smith, Dobson, Kenworthy, Merritt, Roseboro, Casey Cox, Checklist, Willis, Tresh, Veal, Fuller, Tommy John, Jim Hart, Milt Pappas, Mincher, Jim Britton, Ron Reed, Don Wilson, Northrup, Kubiak, Larry Jackson, Bowens, Stevenson, Tolan, Gaylord Perry, Dick Williams, Phil Regan, Jake Gibbs, Vada Pinson, Olam, Ed Cranepool, Cloninger, May, Aspromonte, Frank Coggins, Phobos, Sutherland, and Rocky Calavito. All right, guys, that's the first 99 cards. Here's the first 100 cards, not counting the graded cards that I already showed you. So, Beckert, Cardinal, Don Sutton, Dietz, Downing, Dalton Jones, Checklist, Pavlich, Bert Campaneris, Hank Aaron. It's a little rough. Actually, it's a lot rough. Phil Reese, Woody Fryman, Tom Machick, Ron Swoboda, Sam McDowell, Ken McMullen, Larry Jaster, Bellinger, Ted Savage, who is currently a Dodger in the left field, Mel Stottlemyre, Jimmy Hall, Gene Mach, Jose Santiago, Nate Oliver, Joe Horlin, Bobby Etheridge, Paul Lindblad, Tom Dukes, Mickey Stanley, Tony Perez, Frank Bertana, Bud Harrelson, Fred Whitfield, Pat Jarvis, Paul Blair, Randy Hundley, the Twins, Ruben Amaro, Chris Short, Tony Conigliaro, Dax Maxville, Bud Bradford, Semino, Joe Morgan, Don Drysdale, Bando, Lindsay, Bristol, Savarine. These are World Series cards. Brock, Yastrzemski, Bryles, Gibson, Longbird's rough. Petrocelli, St. Louis wins it. The Cardinals celebrate. Kessinger, Wilson, Miller, Mike Torres rookie, Braybender, Webster, Tony Oliva, Raymond, Elston Howard, the Dodgers, Bolin, Jim Fregosi, Note Bart, Walt Williams, Boozer, Tillman, Maury Willis, Rob Allen, Don Wirt, Bill Stoneman, Kurt Flood. He's got an interesting story. Just don't buy any of his paintings. Jerry Zimmerman, Giusto, Bob Kennedy, Lou Johnson, Tom Holler, Eddie Watt, Sonny Jackson, Cat Peterson, Bill Landis, Bill White, Dan Frisella. Checklist, that looks like, that's Yastrzemski on that checklist. Jack Hamilton, Buford, Pepitone, Gary Nolan, Larry Brown, Roy Face, Roberto Rodriguez, and Daryl Osteen rookie. All right, these are cards in the 200s. Orlando Cepeda, Mike Marshall, Phillips, Kelly, Etchbarren, Juan Marichal, Ermer, Sembera, Willie Davis, Tim Cullen, Gary Peters, J.C. Martin, Dave Moorhead, Chico Ruiz, Yankees rookies, Jim Bunning, Bubba Morton, Turk Farrell, Ken Suarez, Rob Gardner, Harmon Killebrew, the Braves, Jim Harden, Ollie Brown, Jack Aker, Richie Allen, Jimmy Price, Joe Horner, Billingham, Clages, Baldwin, Menke, George Scott, Bill Moncoret, I don't know, Ron Santo, Tug McGraw, Alvin Dark, Satriano, Henry, Milan, Dabrowski, Rollins, Donaldson, Gonzalez, Peterson, Fred Valentine, Bill Singer, Manny Sanguillen, the Angels, Dick Hughes, Cleon Jones, Dean Chance, Norm Cash, Phil Niekro, Cubs rookies, Ken Boyer, Jim Wynn, Dave Duncan, Rick Weiss, Horace Clark, Ted Abernathy, Tommy Davis, Paul Popovich, Herman Franks, Bob Humphrey, Bob Tiefenauer, Matty Alou, Bobby Knoop, Ray Culp, Dave Johnson, Mike Cellular, Tim McCarver, Jim Rowland, Jerry Buchek. The fourth checklist, I don't know who that is. That might be Kurt Flood. Bill Hands, Jim Campanis, Rick Monday, Mel Queen, John Briggs, Dick McAuliffe, and that card is toast. Cecil Upshaw, White Sox rookies, Dave Wickersham, Woody Held, Dick Lines, Art Shamsky, Bruce Howard, Red Schoendeist, Sonny Siebert, Byron Brown, Russ Gibson, Jim Brewer, and Gene Michael. So those are all the cards in the 200s. These are in the 300s. Rusty Staub, Twins rookies, Jerry Arrigo, Dick Green, Vanny Valdespino, Minnie Rojas, Mike Ryan, John Hiller, the Pirates, Ken Henderson, Luis Aparicio, Jack Lambe, Kurt Bluff, I don't know, Al Weiss, Red Sox rookies, Versalles, Steve Barber, Ron Brand, Chico Salmon, George Culver, Frank Howard. This dude was a monster. He's like 6'8", 6'7", 255. Just launching home runs. Let's see how many home runs he hit that year. 36 home runs, 1967 for Washington. Leo DeRocher, Dave Boswell, Darren Johnson, Jim Nash, Manny Mota, Denny Rabant, Tony Taylor, Angels rookies, Dwayne Josephson, Dan Osinski, Doug Rader, Ron Herbal, Orioles, Bobby Allison, John Purdon, Bill Robinson, Bob Johnson, Rich Nye the Science Guy, Max Alvis, Jim Lemon, Ken Johnson, Jim Gosker, Don Clendon, Bob Headley, Jerry Adair, George Brunette, the Phillies rookies, Ed Spezio, Hoyt Wilhelm, Bob Barton, Jackie Hernandez, Mac Jones, Pete Reichert, fifth series checklist. Gabrielson, Mike Epstein, Joe Moeller, Willie Horton, Harmon Killebrew, Orlando Cepeda, Rod Carew, Joe Morgan, Brooks Robinson, Ron Santo, Jim Fregosi, Gene Alley, Mike Yastrzemski, Hank Aaron. This Tony Oliva is messed up. Lou Brock, Frank Robinson, Roberto Clemente, Bill Freehan, Tim McGarver, and Joe Horlin, Bob Gibson, Gary Peters, Ken Holtzman, Boog Powell, Raymond Hernandez, Steve Whitaker, Reds rookies, Jim Hunter. Is that Catfish Hunter? Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it? Greg Goosen, Joe Foy, Ray Washburn, Jay Johnstone, Bill Mazeroski, Bob Pretty, Grady Hatton, Jim Perry, Tommy Aaron, Camilo Pascal, Bobby Wine, Vic Dahilila, Jim Grant, Ray Euler. So that's all the cards in the 300s. These are the 400s. Mike McCormick, the Mets, Mike Hegan, John Buzzhart, Floyd Robinson, Tommy Helms, Dick Ellsworth, Gary Kolb, Steve Carlton, Ron Stone's rookie, Fergie Jenkins, Ron Hansen, Clay Carroll, Tommy McGraw, Johnny Callison, Bill Rigney, Willie Crawford, Eddie Fisher, Jack Hyatt, Cesar Tovar, Ron Taylor, Gene Lachman, Fred Gladding, the White Sox, Jim Maloney, Hank Allen, Dick Kolmus, Vic Rosnowski, Tommy Sisk, Rico Petrocelli, Dooley Womack, Indians rookies, Bob Rogers, Ricardo Joseph, Ron Pernosky, Hal Lanier, Don Cardwell, Lee Thomas, Luman Harris, Claude Osteen, Alex Johnson, Dick Bosman, Joe Ascue, Jack Fisher, Mike Shannon, Ron Klein, Tigers rookies, Gary Wagner, Gene Oliver, Jim Catt, Al Spangler, Jesus Alou, Sammy Ellis, Brooks Robinson on the 6 series checklist, Rico Carty, John O'Donohue, Jim Lefebvre, Lou Krause, Dick Sampson, Jim Longberg, Chuck Hiller, Barry Moore, Jimmy Schaefer, Don McMahon, Tommy Agee, Bill Dillman, Dick Hauser, Larry Sherry, Ty Klein, Bill Freehan, Orlando Pena, Walt Alston, Al Worthington, Paul Shaw, Joe Niekro, Woody Woodward, the Phillies, Dave McNally, Phil Gagliano, John Wyatt, Jose Pagan, Daryl Nose, Phil Roof, Ken Berry, Cal Kuntz, Lee May, Wally Bunkner, Denny LeMaster, Jeff Torberg, Jim McLaughlin, Sadecki, Leon Wagner, Steve Hamilton, the Cardinals, Bill Ryan, and Steve Blass. All right, almost done. Finally, the 500s. John Odom, Mike Andrews, Al Jackson, Russ Snyder, Joe Sparma, Clarence Jones, Wade Blassingame, Duke Sims, Denny Higgins, Ron Fairley, Bill Kelso, Grant Jackson, Hank Bauer, Al McBean, Russ Nixon, Pete Mickelson, Diego Segui, 7th series checklist. I don't know who that is. A Brave. Jerry Stevenson, Don Shaw, Wayne Causey, John Satoris, Andy Costco, Jim Davenport, Bill Dennehy, Tito Francona, little old manager something. Bruce Von Hoff, Chuck Hinton, Louis Tiante, Wes Parker, Bob Miller, Danny Cater, Bill Short, Norm Syburn, Manny Jimenez, Major League rookie stars. One's a Yankee, the other one's an Astro. Nelson Briles, Sandy Alomar, John Bacobea, Bob Lee, Mayo Smith, Lindy McDaniel, Roy White, Dan Coombs, Bernie Allen. Orioles rookies, Cleet Boyer. Is that who that was on the checklist? Daryl Sutherland, Ed Kirkpatrick, Frank Aguirre, the A's, Jose Tartabull, Dick Selma, Frank Quilisi, John Edwards, Pirates rookies, Paul Casanova, Lee Elliott, Jim Booten, Ed Charles, Eddie Stanky, Larry Durker, Ken Harrelson, Clay Darmable, Willie Smith, another Houston and Mets rookie, Reichert, Tony La Russa, Don Bosch, Joe Coleman, the Reds, Jim Palmer, Dave Adlish, Fred Talbot, Orlando Martinez, Larry Hissel, Bob Bailey, Gary Rogenberg, Jerry Grote, Gates Brown, Larry Shepard, Wilbur Wood, Jim Pagliaroni, Roger Repose, Dick Schofield, Twins, rookies, Tommy Harper, Dick Nen, John Bateman, Lee Strange, Phil Linz, Phil Ortega, Charlie Smith, Bill McCool, and Jerry May. All right, guys, so that is the entire checklist. Also, remember, these are the additional cards. There's only 4 of them. The Mantle, insert 68, insert to 6. Brooks Robinson is a 7. Mickey Mantle, 5.5. And the Tigers, which is a 5.